I'd like to ask him about that state statute that we found with the trailer park thing, but
It never does.
It's like herding kittens around here.
You know what that pulse car, that tree coming down from is?
I had nothing to do with it.
That is, it's all the misses, it's shot the bark off the tree.
That tree fell over.
Which he was talking about when the fire trucks, he got home,
Oh,
cause the tree
yeah,
went
yeah.
down.
Yeah, I was out on the road though, I was nowhere near there. Might have been you.
Yeah, all right. Okay, we'll call to order the September 25th, 2023 regular meeting of the East Bethel, Minnesota City Council. Please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Before we get into this, I wanted to acknowledge somebody, a member of our community, and that's Mr. Ray Jordan. Ray visited us last week. He's the owner of Blue Ribbon Pines Disc Golf Course over on Klondike Drive. And he had an event last weekend, which was a fundraiser for the Rocca Cancer Foundation. And apparently it was very successful, and it abided by all East Bethel noise ordinances and everything else. And we just want to wish him well for doing it the right way and doing it for a good cause. So just a little aside there. Okay, we're going to open a public hearing. Do you have something you want to, one of you guys want to take it away?
absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you know, Councilman Miller proposed an ordinance amendment to section 10-4 accessory storage containers. The Planning Commission reviewed the amendment on August 22nd at their regular meeting, and at its conclusion, there was mixed reviews and some additional ideas, as well as coupling with some proposals that staff had after review. The proposed amendments by the Planning Commission were in conflict with the amendments proposed by Councilman Miller. At the August 28th City Council meeting, after a public hearing, the further discussion, staff was directed to work with Councilman Miller to modify the proposed amendment and incorporate some of the items suggested by the Planning Commission, as well as staff and other council members. I have completed a redline version of section 14 of the detached accessory structures that would identify storage containers as a detached accessory structure and account for most of the additional items suggested, such as setbacks, size, height, color, placement, etc. A minor language change would be required for section 10-4 of accessory storage containers to clarify the code. All of these proposed changes have been included in Ordinance Amendment 2023-18 presented to you. There are the redline versions of the ordinance amendments. The City Council is requested to hold a public hearing, review the proposed detached accessory structure amendment, and approve or deny the ordinance revision as presented. Additionally, the approval or denial of the accessory storage container ordinance is needed to accompany the overall change.
Okay, I guess with that, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to the matter of the proposed ordinance amendments regarding accessory storage containers? I will. Okay. You know the procedure, Suzanne?
I sort of remember it. I'm
Sort of
Suzanne
remember.
Urkel. I live on Okinawa Street in East Bethel. I just wanted to say I support no controlling people's property with what they want to have on their property. I know when I was up there, I tried to get it changed and I couldn't get one step forward. So I just think as few rules, as few control over property the city has, the better for the residents.
Well, thank you for your comments. Does anybody else have a comment? If not, well, that will close the public hearing.
With that, I'll make a motion
To approve the
to
resolution.
approve the amendment to ordinance 2023-18.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded to approve ordinance amendment 2023-18. Do I say that properly?
That's correct.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, so it was 4 in favor and Mr. Mundell is opposed.
Mr. Mayor, there will be a 10-day posting in the newspaper, and after the 10-day hearing or appeal process, the ordinance will go into effect if we hear.
Okay, and maybe in 5 or 10 years, the Muni code will update our city code to reflect the changes. Item 4B is a tobacco violation hearing.
Thank you, Kevin. An employee at Dollar General, number 22023, on 1300 209th Avenue Northeast in East Bethel, is reported to have sold tobacco products to a minor. As part of a compliance check by the Anoka County Sheriff's Department on August 2nd, 2023, Ms. Emma Bookwalter was approached by an underage individual who sold tobacco products to the underage buyer in violation of City Code, Chapter 18, Article 4, Section 18-176, prohibited sales. A copy of the sheriff's report is included as Attachment 1 in your packet. The city has provided the license holder with the opportunity to be whole. Notice was provided to the store manager on September 12, 2023 of the compliance violation scheduled for tonight's meeting. City Council has several options with respect to the administrative action. Any person, including an individual licensee who sells any tobacco products to a person under the age of 21, is subject to an administrative penalty. This is Dollar General's first violation of the ordinance. For a first-time violation, the city may impose a civil fine of up to $150. In addition, the city may also suspend the license for a period up to 20 days. The city may agree with the licensee to waive up to 10 days of any suspension at the rate of 2 days per every 8 hours of community service performed by the licensee's employee. A copy of Resolution 2023-66 is attached, which provides for the finding, conclusions, and administrative penalties for this case. Council should review the resolution and make a determination of the appropriate penalties, if any, to be imposed. Staff is recommending council conduct the tobacco violation hearing and provide staff with the direction on the penalties to be administered with the adoption of Resolution 2023-66. And it doesn't appear that there's anybody from Dollar General here to present their side of the case. We have two options going forward. We can give them another 2 weeks, conduct the hearing at our next meeting, or proceed with the hearing without them present.
And they were informed?
That's correct, and in
Okay.
fact, we sent an employee out on last Thursday to remind them because we'd had no response from them. The store manager was contacted and notified of the hearing.
I'd move we give them a couple more weeks.
Do you have any thoughts, Eric? You were looking at me, so I didn't know if you had any thoughts.
No, I appreciate that, Mayor. No, City Administrator Davis, I thought gave a fine report, and the options are there. Either decide now or move to table it until your next city council meeting, which would be 2 weeks from now. And I believe there's a motion.
So you move that we basically table it until the next
Table it for a
meeting.
couple weeks, and who would get a hold of them?
Well, Jack just said,
Eric,
a
Jack.
city employee went out and talked to him.
Carrie went out and spoke to the store manager directly, and the employee was there. The store manager claimed she had never received any notification, but she was notified in a face-to-face communication last Thursday. Again, it's city council's option if you want to table that and give them another 2 weeks, so they can have a chance to appear here. We have no objections with that.
I guess I'd like to reiterate, I'd like to put it on for 2 weeks. Jack, is there some way you could go out and talk to them?
I certainly can, and one of the problems with dealing with places like Dollar General, it's hard to get a hold of anybody that has any authority
Yeah.
to act on the store's behalf.
Is the owner local, do you know?
No, the owners of whatever the Dollar General LLC or corporate structure
Oh.
it's operating under. The employee is local, but generally when that comes in, the employer accompanies that person. Just state what they're gonna do to rectify the problem and ensure it doesn't happen again.
Well, before we do any more discussion, there has to be a second on the
Right, I was just gonna
table,
call
and then
for
there
it.
is no more.
I'll second it.
All right,
Okay,
end
and
of
discussion?
There's no discussion. Once it's tabled, it's tabled.
No, you've moved to table it, and there's a second. You should vote.
But there's no discussion?
Yeah, you could have a discussion. based
I just
upon-
wanna know what your thoughts were, you fellow members of the council.
Jack, my question would be on a tobacco license. Do we have listed on their point of contact of somebody, an actual person?
We would have to go back to the store and have the store manager give us that, but we're assuming that the store manager would be the point of contact. They have the responsibility for the overall operation of the facility, and the violation was issued to the employee.
Yeah, but when an application is filled out for a tobacco license, is there a point of contact person on it?
It is, and generally it's the store manager.
Okay.
Well, we've got a motion made, seconded, and any further discussion?
I think we should give them the opportunity for the next council meeting. I think Jack should get in contact with the manager, whoever it is. Give them a little more time than just a couple of days, and let them know as soon as you can that we'd like to have their presence here. If they don't show up, then we'll take action.
Well, there's a couple of questions I guess I'd like to ask, but I'd like to ask them.
Right.
So what are
Well,
you saying? You wanna go
it
with
kind
the-
of establishes, I mean, from what I've got, from what the information that we got, she did look at the ID.
That
Now,
was
did she
just frame
misread
of
it, or
mind,
did
isn't
she
that
just
the term under the law?
neglect it?
Frame of mind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah, I
neglect,
noticed
or
that
was it
too.
she just misread it, or what's her story behind it?
Okay, well, we've got a motion made, seconded, and we discussed it a bit. Let's have a vote. All those in favor of tabling it until the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, I don't hear anybody. Okay. Okay, we got our, item 4C is our Anoka County Sheriff's Office report with Lieutenant Derek Peters.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I apologize for not being able to make it last month, but I was on vacation with the family, so. August had a total of 411 calls for service. This was our 4th busiest month this year. We had 1 burglary, 1 assault, 1 damage to property, and 57 medicals that we responded to. We also investigated 3 separate theft calls. There were 2 warrant arrests in our city, and our traffic enforcement efforts resulted in the issuance of 28 traffic citations on our city roadways. few of the notable calls that we handled last month was a traffic arrest by Deputy Redmond. On the 5th of August at 4 p.m., Deputy Redmond was providing extra patrol at Cambria Hills when he observed a white Chevrolet pickup pass him on 189th Avenue Northeast. Deputy Redmond noticed that the driver wasn't wearing a shirt and that the bed of the truck was overflowing with miscellaneous items. Deputy Redmond followed the truck and saw the truck pull into Our Savior's Church. He then stopped it for observing more suspicious activity. While speaking with the driver, Deputy Redmond noticed that the driver was extremely nervous and uncooperative. A female in the truck refused to identify herself. While checking on the status of the male's driver's license, the male actually got out of the truck and attempted to skateboard around the car. Deputy Redmond learned that the driver had revoked driving status. The driver told Deputy Redmond that he wasn't going to provide proof of insurance and that he would not be allowed to search the truck. At this point, Deputy Redmond chose to detain the male in handcuffs due to his erratic behavior. While attempting to do so, the male pulled away. Deputy Redmond removed his taser and ordered the male to comply, at which point he did. The male was detained by the use of handcuffs and seated in the back of Deputy Redmond's squad car. Deputy Redmond later cited the male for driving after revocation and released him from the scene as the car was parked legally on private property. On the 29th of August at 5:45 p.m., Deputy Bowles observed a vehicle parked at the back of EJ's Bar located in the 4800 block of Viking Boulevard Northeast. That vehicle, once he ran the plate, had a probable cause, or what we call a PC pickup, for first-degree arson out of Maplewood. The vehicle at this time was unoccupied, so Deputy Bowles repositioned his squad car and sat in the area and familiarized himself with the description of the male who was wanted in connection with the arson in Maplewood. Approximately 2 minutes later, Deputy Bowles saw the male exit the bar and approach his vehicle. To prevent an escape or the possibility of a vehicle pursuit, Deputy Bowles boxed the car in and activated his emergency lights. Deputy Bowles stepped out of his squad car and advised the male that he was under arrest. Deputy Bowles ordered the male to the ground at gunpoint due to the violent nature of the arson crime that had been committed, and as well as the officer's safety information attached to that specific vehicle and that male. Deputy Bowles waited until several other squad cars arrived to assist before handcuffing the male. Deputy Bowles later learned from a Maplewood officer that this male was wanted for shooting fireworks at a squad car and other passing vehicles, and had also allegedly started a motorhome on fire in the city of Maplewood earlier that day. The male was transferred to the custody of a Maplewood police officer and booked in the Ramsey County Jail. And then finally, on the 30th of August at 7:09 p.m., Deputy Jacobson was dispatched to check the welfare of someone on Lincoln Drive and Laurel Road in East Bethel. Information provided was that there was a vehicle parked on the roadway and the driver appeared to be going in and out of consciousness. Deputy Jacobson arrived in the area and contacted a male who was laying down in the car with the vehicle running and the keys in the ignition. Upon speaking with the male, Deputy Jacobson noticed the odor of a consumed alcoholic beverage on the male's breath. The male admitted to having been drinking earlier but pulled his car over to sleep off the effects of alcohol. Deputy Jacobson had the male step out to perform standardized field sobriety testing, which he ultimately failed. The male submitted to a preliminary breath test, which reported an initial value of .341. The male was arrested and transported to the sheriff's office, where he ultimately refused any further evidentiary testing. The male was transported to jail and booked for the DWI offense and DWI refusal. So going through our crime trends the last couple months here, I've seen that everything has been pretty steady. We've continued to see a drop in our thefts, which is very, very good. Our accidents and motor vehicle crashes were also down to the lowest number that we've seen all year. We only responded to 10, and only is still, I think, a big number. 10 crashes is quite a bit. If we could get that number down, that'd be even better. But it was nice to see that number of 10 being the lowest that we've seen all year. So kudos to those who are using our roadways. Kudos to those who have been calling and letting us know that some of these vehicles need to be stopped. Drivers need to be educated or cited, one thing over the other. So as we move forward through the fall, keep letting us know if you see anything out of place in your neighborhood or out on our roads. I'd like to see us continue to build on some of the crime trends that we've been seeing, which is on that downslope. So good things, I think, in store here as we move through the fall. So that'll conclude my brief. I'll stand for any questions.
I wondered if you could do something for me.
Yes, sir.
later on, I'm gonna recommend that we table the sheriff's department contract for the time being until our next meeting. And what it is I was talking to someone who's a law enforcement officer himself about our situation with the contract and the unexpected increase and whatnot. And he suggested the option of possibly reducing the sworn deputy hours and replacing them with community service officer hours, which are lower cost. And I just wondered if you would be willing to, whoever it is in your department who runs the, you know, I'm sure it's just a spreadsheet, you change a couple numbers, you know. But if we were to reduce sworn deputies' hours out of the total of 36 we're contracted for to 32 and replaced it with community service, what would the net financial impact be?
Sure. Yeah,
I'm just curious for.
Yeah, Commander Lensmeyer runs those numbers. I can certainly run that by him as
Would
early
you
as
mind?
tomorrow morning. Yeah, certainly, as
Okay.
tomorrow, as early as tomorrow morning, I'll send an email
Oh,
to
there's
you.
no rush on it.
Sure.
We'll take it up at our
Yeah,
next
we
meeting.
can definitely do that.
We
you
don't
know-
wanna drag it out real long. I'm sure you don't want people dragging out the contracts real long either. so.
Sure. Well, we're here to serve, and if that's what council would like from the sheriff's office, we can certainly deliver on that. And I can get you some numbers that you guys can kind of crunch on your own time and see where we're at.
Yeah.
Can you go over the difference between CSO and deputized deputies as to what the responsibilities, what they can actually do?
Yeah, our CSOs are non-sworn, so they do not have the post certification that's required of every police officer in the state of Minnesota, whether it's a deputy, police department, et cetera. So our community service officers are usually between the ages of 18 and 20. They're college-age students that are looking to get into this job, but I think the bottom line here is they have no authority to make arrests, whether that's, I should say, a custodial arrest. They do have the ability to issue citations for minor level offenses such as dog issues, animal issues, parking enforcement, things of that nature. But any custodial arrest would have to be left up to licensed staff. So if we cut those hours back 8 hours, from my understanding of how the contract is laid out, there'd be a gap in time where we wouldn't be able to make those custodial arrests with a contracted East Bethel deputy car. So we do have countywide rovers that are out there, but with that being said, they'd be coming from multiple different areas throughout the county. The response time would probably tail off quite quickly on an emergency situation that would require licensed staff.
Just to reiterate, since you said 8 hours, I'm only talking about 4 hours.
I'm sorry, okay.
Okay, and so out of the 36, it would be 32 fully sworn deputy sheriffs, and then 4 hours per day
Sure.
of CSOs.
Sure.
I'm just curious, just part of the doing the due diligence, you know.
No, I
that's all.
certainly understand that. I can get that to you probably at some
Would-
point tomorrow.
Would appreciate it, like I said, no
Absolutely.
rush.
Absolutely.
Hey Derek, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Like on year-to-date 2023, just traffic stops, 1,057.
Yep.
So does that mean that citations were issued for those as well?
No, that's just
That's just
traffic
total
contacts.
stops?
Yeah, so a lot of what we like to balance at the sheriff's office is that education over enforcement component, right? So our goal enforcing traffic laws in the state of Minnesota is obviously to change bad behavior. Now, if you have a 16-year-old driver that's speeding, and it's the first time that they've ever been pulled over by the police for going 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, miles an hour, I can probably, in my experience, and I can speak for that of our staff, correct that behavior immediately with a stern verbal warning rather than a citation. Now, if you have somebody with a lengthy rap sheet or someone who has documented concerns within the state of Minnesota driving on our roadways, causing havoc out there, causing a safety issue, I leave that up to the courts. So,
Right. No, I understand that.
yeah.
Then I got another question too. Just saying on citations issued, that money, does that go to you guys or does it go to the county?
No, that's the state of Minnesota,
Really?
from my
So the state
understanding.
gets that money?
Yep, correct,
Really?
correct.
Okay. Figures, I'm not surprised, I guess.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, we get that question often, and
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I know that, we don't see a dime of that, we don't see a penny of that. So we're out there to to keep people safe. That's our job. We're always well-funded and well taken care of by the county and you folks here supporting us in our efforts, so
Yeah,
definitely.
I do appreciate you guys for sure.
I would appreciate you saying that.
Thank you.
Definitely no financial gain on our end.
Thanks.
Well, I know that Anoka County deputies, or the sheriff's department, is highly respected with the Anoka County Corrections Commission. I sit on their advisory board, and they get comments from all over the state of just how good Anoka County is in taking care of business.
Good.
So that was good to hear.
Good. I appreciate you saying that.
That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Item 4D, Chief Rod Sano with the East Bethel Fire Department monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is my report for the month of September. The month of September, the fire department responded to 73 calls for service. We responded to 60 medicals, 5 accidents, 1 alarm call, but we did not have any fire calls, which means like house fires or anything like that. As of 15 minutes ago, or about a half hour ago, we have responded to 697 calls of service to this date. That's compared with 657 last year. Our current trend, we will be responding to around 950 to 1,000 calls for the year of 2023. Just a reminder, the week of October 8th through the 14th is Fire Prevention Week. Please take time to plan your escape route and have a safe meeting place set up with your kids or the people in the house. The fire department will have an open house on October 9th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Station 1. This is the station located at the corner of Viking Boulevard and East Bethel Boulevard. Come out and check out the trucks. There will be Anoka County Sheriff will be there, Anoka County Dispatch, Connexus. Hopefully we'll have a helicopter land, depending on what they're doing that day. And the Cedar East Bethel Lions will be providing hot dogs and chips. Once again, that's October 9th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Station 1. With the rain we just got this week, today we got a lot of it. It's helped some of the drought, but it hasn't cured it all. So with the leaves falling off the trees, they're gonna start drying up and that. People are gonna start raking them. Just a reminder, it's not permitted to burn leaves in East Bethel or in the state of Minnesota. Compost them or haul them away in that. The grass dries out fairly quick. It's a 1 hour fuel. So 1 hour after it stops raining, the grass pretty much can be dry. And this year, like I said, with the drought, the grass is gonna die off fairly quickly. So I do expect the DNR to be putting on burn restrictions again in that. We had a couple calls this last weekend on possibly illegal burns. An illegal burn is burning wood that's either treated or covered garbage and everything. Don't burn that. What you can burn is in a fire pit is logs and untreated lumber and that. That's about all the only thing you can burn in a wreck fire. And a wreck fire is 3 by 3 by 2 feet high and that. And that is about all I have on that. I will answer any questions.
Yeah. A few years back, there was a Heart Start program.
Heart safe?
Heart Safe, that was just push, 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 push. Everybody's got to have one. And my concerns back then were that it wasn't being followed up on.
East
mean-
Bethel is a certified heart safe city.
Well, I understand that, but where I'm coming from here, because I spent 8 years in EMS, you have to keep training on this stuff. And it just seemed as though you guys did a great job of training and getting the defibs out there, but no, I don't hear anything about training, haven't for a long time. And even though the machines will kind of guide you, as you know, it's kind of intimidating, the adrenaline's flowing when you get to a scene anyway. So you get somebody who's got the machine available, but they start panicking because here's this machine telling them what to do and they start second guessing. So my question is, are they going to do follow-up training or retraining of people to keep them up to snuff? Otherwise, it was great to get them out there and get the machine sold, but if you're not gonna follow up and keep retraining people, I think it was kind of a waste.
I can bring that up to Troy Lashinsky. He is the person that leads Heart Safe. And that is not connected to the fire department. I'll bring it up to him. But to do the retraining in that, we need the groups to reach out to us.
I'm sorry?
We need the groups that we did train, like the Coon Lake people.
Right.
The community center. We need them to reach out to us so we can set up a time, or Troy can set up a time to come over and do the training for them. This training is not a CPR training where it expires every
Right,
2 years.
right.
It's a layman training. We train them to do hands-only CPR. And if the machine's available, grab it, But like I said, the groups need to reach out to Troy so he can set up the trainings for them.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's not a 2-year research for CPR because I used to teach that also. But again, I mean, the fire department was the big pushers of this.
We still are.
Then is there a way that we could put on the website to reach out to the people that have had this training to get retrained or do whatever it takes to do it? To me, it's not gonna do any good if you got the machine. I've got one that I purchased years ago, a Phillips at home. I've never used it, thank God, but I still pull it out, work the pads, do the sample, make sure that things are gonna work, because I haven't been in EMS for a while. And it's an adrenaline rush when you show up and somebody's basically dead and you're trying to save them. So it's just a recommendation, I wasn't sure what happened to that program. I haven't heard anything about it, so, okay.
Is
Well,
that something that Carrie might put a notice about?
Yeah, one thing we can do, the next newsletter will be going out in 3
Yeah.
or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
We'll get together with Ron, and we'll put a little
Yeah.
article in there saying if anybody wants to be retrained on that and give them the directions and contact information to
would
get
be-
up with
that
to
would be good.
reschedule that.
I do know the East Bethel Chamber just did a session probably 4 months ago.
Yes.
I attended that along with other executive committee members of the chamber, and it was a public message, and we did have 2 people from the general public who view the chamber website actually attend the training. So I think they're out there, they're advertised, it's just a matter of finding the right group that's got the reach to push the message out as well, so.
And
Well, I
there is a
think the
website, or there is a Facebook site. I do believe it's Heart Safe East Bethel and that, also that Troy posts stuff on. Like I said, I will talk to Troy, he's out of town till Wednesday, but I will talk to him and, have him get an article for the newsletter and that.
yeah.
Well,
I
one of the
recall-
problem, I'm sorry.
I recall the East Bethel Heart Safe Facebook page promoting their training sessions,
Yeah, but
so.
one of my concerns, and we're working on that with the newsletter and such, is communication with the residents. And East Bethel has a lot of geriatric people, old folks. Computers intimidate them. And so unless, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, you can't train everybody in computer. But I don't know, do they advertise that next door at the community center? Do you know?
I do not know if we have a Heart Safe thing over there or not.
No, I think the one we have here is in the lobby, but if we put it in the newsletter, that goes out to every
Yeah, there you go.
address in the city.
I just think it's a tool we should be using.
Like I said, I will, like I said, I'll do it
Appreciate
with
that.
Troy.
Yep, thanks.
As a survivor, a couple of zappings almost
Oh, yeah.
13 years ago, I second your opinion about that. Yeah. Thank you.
Chief,
Any other questions?
Chief, I got a question for you. Like when a call goes out, who's notified first, the sheriff, Alina, or fire?
I do believe, we're all notified about the same time. On a medical call, I will get, if I'm at the station and I'm monitoring, CAD, mobile CAD, I will get a call in pending in that, and then it gets moved up within about 15 seconds, moved up, and we're getting paged out. The sheriff department, they get the same thing on mobile CAD, but they also get a voice call. And then I do believe it gets transferred, like a medical gets transferred to Alina, and Alina does then take all their pre-arrival.
Okay,
And as we're going to the scene with mobile CADs, those are the computers in our cars, we're getting updates constantly
of what's going on?
of what's going on.
Okay.
With the new system that's coming to Anoka County on the fire side, we will actually be able to get those updates on our phone
Really?
at that time.
Cool. Then like, on a lot of the medical calls, which we have majority, are there a lot of cancellations when you're on the way to the scene?
We get canceled probably on 5 or 6 calls a month,
A month?
maybe,
Oh, okay.
in that.
Okay.
The way we're responding right now, I'm responding to a lot of calls myself right now,
Okay.
even on my off hours.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get to the scene, if I do not need the extra people there, because we'll have possibly 1 to 2 deputies, 2 to 3 people on a lineup.
Oh, okay.
We just don't want to overwhelm the patient.
Right,
So I will either slow the incoming truck to routine or cancel them.
okay.
But yeah, we do, like I said. And at night, we have a duty officer that responds to every call at night also.
Okay.
So, so we are getting a lot of people there. And like I said, we're assessing the situation when we get there to see if we
See
need
if you
everybody we're getting.
additional help. Okay, all right, thank you.
Who's the best one to ask of the coordination between Alina and East Bethel Fire? And what I'm looking for is Alina bills out. We don't bill for the medicals. And so a call goes out, you guys show up. If it's an extrication or whatever, you get everything done, ready. Alina picks them up, takes off, and then they bill for that patient. Is there some reason why we've never done that?
I will have to defer that to Mr. Davis.
Maybe this ain't the right forum to be asking
It's-
that, but
It's been discussed previously. One place where I previously worked had their own city EMS, and they actually billed out for every call that they made. They used a third-party vendor for the billing and the collection of those services. It's something we've kicked about previously. There's a lot of red tape to it, a lot of insurance and paperwork stuff, and some things that can be charged and cannot be charged. And we'd have to look at the state statutes as to what we could do on that, because there are some limitations, as I understand, on what we could bill and what services we could provide.
because pretty much you guys are the BLS. Without you guys, Alina may get there, and if they can't extricate, they're gonna be kind of useless anyway, right? I mean,
Well, I'm not gonna say they're good. No, they're not useless.
well,
That's-
wrong terminology. I've worked both sides of
Yeah.
the fence and had to do extrication. But without you guys there to do the basic stability and do the extrication, Alina's gonna have to sit and wait until you guys get scene control, right? I mean, you show up, somebody's gotta do the triage, somebody's gotta figure out what's going on. I'm just saying that you guys should get, not necessarily more money, but at least more credit, because everybody sees an ambulance going down the road with a Alina on it. Well, East Bethel guys are the ones that actually showed up first, secured the scene, took care of business, passed it off to Alina, and Alina bills it out, and that's about where it goes.
Councilman, right now, as it is, a line is usually, I'm just talking about car accidents like you are
Right.
with extrication. A line is usually beating us to the scene on those because we have to get paged out, go get the trucks. Okay? So
Okay.
they're getting there, they're stabilizing the patient. And if we have to extricate, then we do take over that. But they're still there doing a fair share of the stabilization. They're getting in the car, holding the patient, C-spine and everything.
Okay, then I got a legal question. Where's the liability? Because if they're going there first, these guys show up, they got the equipment, they got the extrication, they got the fire truck, they got everything to take care of the emergency. Now, if the scene isn't safe, is it our responsibility that Alina just jumps in and, I understand what you're saying, because you gotta get control of the patient, you gotta see spine, whatever's going on there. But when you guys show up, you kinda got the whole package.
But,
Well-
to make the scene safe, that's what Anoka County Sheriff's for. They're getting there before us too.
All right.
And-
I don't think my questions are coming out quite right, but I'm getting a good idea.
Yeah.
Mayor, council member, in those situations, the city and the fire department has immunity, so the liability is minimal to practically nil.
Right, but I'm speaking about when Alina gets there first, and it's a bad crash, driver's pinned in, things are not looking so good. For them to go in and do, well, they can do observations, but for them to actually get in there and be able to work with things is kind of tough. So what happens if there's something bad goes wrong before the fire department gets there to take care of business? You understand what I'm saying, Rod?
I'm not really,
Oh, all right,
Alina,
well,
Alina, like I said, is a partner of ours. They're not
Right.
gonna run our tools, we're gonna run our own tools.
No, and I understand that. But before you get there, for them to go in and start doing patient care,
It's what they're supposed to do.
all right,
You good?
good.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, have a good day.
Thanks.
Alrighty, the next item on our agenda is the public forum. And Suzanne Urkel is the only person on our list, so Suzanne, come on down.
Hi again, I'm Suzanne Urkel, I live on Okinawa Street in East Bethel. The first thing I want to say is, sitting back there, I can only hear half of what you guys are saying, so you guys maybe pull your mics a little closer. It sounds like you're probably like this, and I could like every 5 words or something like that. So, and I'm not the only one. So I know if I can't hear you back there, the people at home probably can't hear you.
Agreed.
So the first thing I want to talk about is the seniors. We had a Feed the City this last Thursday, and very few people showed up, and apparently the word didn't get out. So I'm thinking the city needs to figure out a way to get the word out for events. Even the disc golf thing, I'd never heard about it. So I don't know if they could put that, alternate something like that. I'm not saying advertise for a business, but if a business is having a fundraiser for a good cause, maybe we could put it on that reader board. Maybe we could put it in the newsletter if we know in advance. So, but I did miss people and the police officers. A couple of fire people showed up, a couple of city staff, but that was it. And we had a ton of food. I mean, we made huge bowls of a variety of food over there. So, and it was a nice event, and we thank the people who came for the jobs that they do, and to show our appreciation. But I do also want to talk about the game day. Every 4th Thursday from 1 to 4, there's a game day over here. And sometimes it's on the Channel 10 thing, sometimes it's not. But I was wondering if it could be published in that newsletter that's going out, maybe even put on the reader board the week before and let it flicker back and forth. And it's sponsored by the seniors, but it is for everyone that's available to come. It's from 1 to 4. Snacks are provided. You can bring your own water or drink, or we sell pop for $1. Every Tuesday, there's crafts going on over there. So people have crafts they want to work on and they want to socialize with people, they can come up there. Men do woodworking once a week and meet. The first Friday of every month is the senior dance. Our numbers have been dwindling on that, and I'm wondering, how do we get the word out? We need to get the word out on these events. And October 15th, we're having a vendor and craft show over there. And I'm sponsoring that, or not sponsoring it, but organizing it. And the tables are only $25, 20 if you're want to sit outside and do a tent. So those are my things for this, my issues for the seniors, and I'm just hoping that we can get things published and the word out better than what we're doing, because I try to stay informed, and there's a lot of things happening that I don't know anything about. So that means a lot of other people don't know about it too. So, and then the airport commission that I'm on, we met at Minneapolis St. Paul Airport with the State Airport Commission. These are 13 governor-appointed professionals. And we gave a briefing, and I sent Jack the briefing, and I would like to get put on the calendar to present that here and make that briefing public on the website and everything too, if that's possible. But I'd like to do it the second meeting in October, if that's possible, because we're also having another airport meeting, and then I could just combine the reports. So is that possible, Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Who can't you hear when you're sitting back there? Is it
You're
everybody
pretty good.
or?
You're pretty good, but everybody else. I can hear Mr. Lewis every once in a while. He seems to be a little bit far back, but Mr. Smith and, well, Mr. Miller and Talk Jack, I couldn't understand anything he said. Mr. Mundell, I couldn't hear what he said. So get those mics closer or turn up the volume. I don't know what you guys got to do, but I would like to be able to hear you guys.
Suzanne, if there's any events that the seniors want advertised on anything, just make sure they send them to us, and we'll make sure that they're on the appropriate communications venues that we have.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I don't know if that's Dallas's responsibility or my. I know about it, and I come here and talk about it, but I don't want to duplicate either. So I don't know if Dallas is sending you stuff and coming and talking to you, or Sue, or anybody else on the board. I'm not really allowed to do much over there until you've been in there for a year, according to the bylaws.
Well, if they can just decide on somebody to be their liaison to communicate to us what they need to advertise, we'll make sure it's up.
Okay, well, I will give Dallas a call then. Thank you.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that disc golf thing should have been well advertised. We had
Yeah.
Mr. Jordan here talking about it and promoting it, right? We had to,
It was
you let
on
'em do it.
Facebook sites, I guess, yeah. But no, just to speak to that, okay? Yeah, that's why it was an issue for me. What are the best means of communicating between the city and the residents and vice versa? That was the second to most recent issue of the East Bethel Bulletin, and we did a survey. And we know that the East Bethel Bulletin is the primary means, followed by the website. And they can and need to be improved. Just so you know, two recent examples, I'm really hip to what you're talking about. It took 4 months for an article that I wrote for the East Bethel Bulletin to actually come out in the East Bethel Bulletin. And it's been a sore spot for some time with me in the city. And recently, two of the city council members were here meeting with a staff member, on the same day that the East Bethel last senior meeting was last Thursday or something. I was shoulder deep in a front differential on my truck, so I couldn't make the meeting I had planned to, but none of us had ever gotten any notice about that meeting. But I had seen it because I looked at the calendar a few weeks earlier. I just got derailed, but nobody got in, nobody on the city council that I know of was alerted to it at the senior meeting, and they were right here. You know, if they didn't have conflicts, they could have made it. So there's a lot of room for improvement in the communication. That's what I was getting at. And I believe very strongly about it. We've talked about doing 6 East Bethel bulletins a year instead of 4. Would probably be a step in the right direction, investing a little money and taking an already pretty good city website and making it better. And making it a real commitment, but you have to have the will to have that communication back and forth before it becomes a reality. And I just don't think it's been a high priority.
Well,
And
now
that
that you
includes
mention that,
councils too, not just the staff or
I have a
something.
question for Jack. The seniors do have a newsletter that they put out every month. If they sent it to the city, would they be able to take that newsletter, it's actually a couple pages long, and put a link to it on the website, so if people are interested in anything that's happening at the seniors? I mean, it also has, people who are in the hospital and a bunch of other stuff, and the minutes. You could even get rid of the minutes from the meeting and just put,
Yeah, it's like, why
what's
has
going
that
on.
not been done?
yeah.
It's like, it's right here. I mean, I don't get, again, I get back to the will thing. I think it's just hasn't been a priority. And I'm not blaming members of the staff. The city council is the people who are supposed to drive the stuff, and they just haven't. I don't know why. I can't speak for other city councils.
Anything that we can get, we can put on the website.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make that
Well,
happen
yeah.
then. Thanks.
It should be, that's one of the upgrades to keep in mind when we're doing the website upgrade, is the seniors have a clear designation, not that you have to weed through a bunch of menus to find them. It should be very clear. And it doesn't, I'm not a website designer or anything, but I don't think it requires a huge effort to make a website better. And I kinda like our website already, so it shouldn't be hard to make it better. Anyway. Anybody else want to speak in the public forum? If not, we'll move on to item 6, the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'd like to pull item H, as in Harry.
Oh, good, I was gonna put.
H is in Harry, okay. Anybody else got anything they want to pull?
Yeah, I was gonna pull H, but, he's already doing it, so I'll pull F, as in Frank. I just have a couple questions. So we got a motion second.
Can you hear us right now? Yeah. Okay. You fellas?
I'll pull A,
A, like an apple?
yes. I'll second the motion.
Anything, Tim?
I have a couple questions on A too, since it's already pulled.
Okay.
Yeah, so do I. Popular.
Okay, so we've got a motion made. You'll have to re-educate me on this. Not you. I'm asking
Okay.
our parliamentarian over there.
All right.
What's the proper procedure?
Mayor, you have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, and I'm showing A, F, and H pulled, so.
To which I'll add others if now is the time to add them.
Oh, sure, yeah, if there are any others.
I'll add C, E, and G.
Mayor, you might want to find to make sure if there were any other polls, and if not,
Well, that's why I kept asking, is anything else?
Yeah, I.
ask and you shall receive, I guess. So with that, Mayor, I'm showing B and D remaining on the consent agenda.
So can we go ahead and vote on
You may proceed
E
with
and
the vote.
G?
Yes.
All those in favor in approving E and G on the consent agenda?
That's B and
B
D.
and D.
B and,
B
well,
and D.
say it again.
I've-
I got 5 people.
No, and it gets to Ms. Urkel's point, speak into the mic, so, okay.
What is
So,
it? Just
B and D.
B and D. Everybody, anyone who wants to approve items B and D on the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Okay, so let's start with item A. Who's first on item A?
I am. Jack, I had a question, like, on the ice arena thing, R&R specialties, $1,434.55. Do you know what that's all about?
Yeah, that's for all the paint supplies, the tape, the stencils, for the annual painting of the rink that we have to do every year.
Okay. Then, down on building inspection, for sloth inspections, we got rid of them, if I understand it right. And they got a bill for $4,709.60.
Well, there's outstanding permits. Two of them were big, they just about finished those up, but they will continue to finish those up. There were two big commercial permits, was Quick Trip and Holiday,
Okay,
and the other outstanding permits that were issued under Mr. Sloss's contract.
okay. All right. And that's good for me.
That took
Thank
care
you.
of my item A.
Thank you.
Who else had item A?
I did. On that park capital project, where's the Minnesota, Wisconsin playground? What park is that going into?
That's, Whispering Oaks.
Spring Oaks. That's all I have.
I have two questions, and it's for Eckberg Lammers, and the only question I have is there's a billing for 80850 twice. One of them's got an item number and the other one doesn't. Is that it's like 41610, I don't know if that's the item number or not. That's the department, that's the fund, doesn't really say what it's for.
The 80850, that's item number 38.
Get out them cheaters, Jack.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know which one you're, 36363?
yeah, that's it. That was the work that was done on Elovage, the legal fees, but that will be paid from the Elovage escrow account, or has been paid from the Elovage escrow account.
Okay,
So the other one was,
same thing, only,
it was, the hours were the same, so hang on just a minute and I'll tell you where it was. The other 80850 was the work that was done for the cannabis ordinance and the research on that for back in August.
all right.
Jack, on the last page, under street maintenance, safety supplies, what is the New Pig Corporation?
The New Pig Corporation is it's an odd name for a company. I think I'd probably change the name, but that's who we buy a lot of our erosion and sediment control things
Okay.
for, and for absorbent blankets for oil spills.
So we're not buying pigs?
No,
Okay.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve item A?
I'll make a motion to approve item A.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none heard. Okay, I pulled item C, which is counting write-in votes for local elective offices. Did you guys review that at all?
Yeah,
Am I the only
didn't
one who
really
had?
understand what they were doing.
Well, I'm always a little concerned when anything's restricted when it comes to voting. But I wondered, has this been done before?
yes, it aligns with state statutes and it aligns.
But I mean, has it been done in East Bethel before?
It hasn't been done in East Bethel.
This is a new law, right?
That's correct.
Anything that comes out of this particular state legislature makes me suspect.
And it's our option whether we want to adopt it or not. What it would do, it cuts down on all those frivolous write-in votes that we get, like for
But
Donald Duck, Popeye.
My question here is, well, two things. Who is the city election staff that's mentioned in here? Who does that comprise?
The city election staff is the election coordinator, which is Carrie, the election judges, and then overseen by myself.
Okay. And the basic question I have is how burdensome is it? I mean, there's like what, 4,000 to 6,000 people in a normal election, something on that order? I mean, how many, is it 1,000 people, 1,000 write-ins, or is it 20?
Well, the average write-in votes we have had since in the last 7 elections is 144.
144.
And it's varied from a low of 56, to, I believe, to 386.
Well,
That pertains to the write-in votes, correct?
yeah,
Correct.
I don't see that it's so burdensome to keep track of them. That, I mean, I would think it would be at least as burdensome to deal with all the pre-registration of people who want to be registered so that their votes will be counted. You see what I mean? It's like a half a horse apiece to me.
Well, their votes are actually counted, but they're not recorded and broken out individually unless you reach a certain threshold.
All right,
For the first option is if it comes up to, it's the highest of the 2 or 3 office holders, then it's broken out. The other option
well,
is,
yeah, that's one of the options we have,
Yeah.
right?
and the other option is if it comes up to equal to or greater, this is the second option, equal to or greater than the lowest.
The lowest, yeah,
vote
I saw that.
getter on the ballot.
Well, I'm the one who pulled this, and I'm of the opinion that it's not necessary. And so I'll make a motion to, again, is the proper term, tabling it or just voting against it?
Could we have Jack just kind of, for the benefit of the public, of what we're talking about here, explain what it is?
It's,
Well, you just, I thought that's what you just did.
No, not really. You know, he kind of skimmed over a couple things, but
Oh, okay.
from what we're looking at here.
well, there's some new options that have been approved by the state legislature that allow some of the counting of write-in votes, or the recording of write-in, not the counting, but the recording, where you're getting people that do not register as a write-in candidate 7 days before the election. If they don't get a certain number of votes, their votes aren't submitted then and tallied back to the Department of State when the votes are published. They will be published in a form where we do the canvassing of votes every year after the election, but they'll just be listed as write-ins.
Yeah. Anything that obfuscates the count, I'm opposed to. That's just my philosophical bent on it, but, anybody else have any thoughts about it? I guess I made a motion, and my question stands. Is the proper motion to table it or to vote against it? Which is the proper format?
Mayor, I think you have 3 options.
Oh, great, now we got 3 options.
I like to give you options. The first is actually no motion, so it would actually fail to pass for lack of a motion and a second. So if there's no motion and a second, it's been pulled from the agenda, and if there's no motion or second, then it's just gonna fail. If you do wanna revisit it, and have, further, you could certainly table it, either to your work session and or the next city council. And of course, you can always pass, amend, or defeat it at that time. Your third option, if you really wanted to just do that, you could motion to essentially, deny resolution 2023-26, and just really kind of put a firm tack in it. So it's up to you.
I just won't second it.
So.
Fine. So it dies for a lack of a second.
Correct.
I do have one question on it, that if it's an election law that the state put into effect, can we deny it as a city?
I just pulled up the statute, and it has the operative word may. So what the new legislation is it's empowering, all cities, such as the city of East Bethel, to go this route. But obviously, you don't have to as well. So it's as City Administrator Jack Davis indicated, it's at your discretion. If you don't want to pass the resolution, that's fine.
Okay, well then it dies for lack of a second. I'm sure it'll come back again. I've seen this movie before. So that was C. What was our next one? I don't have anybody pulling D. I had one question. E, I pulled E, so I'll ask my question. I just wondered, I don't have any issue with Emily getting the promotion to finance coordinator, but was Desiree offered it and didn't want it, or what was the? I should have called Mike about this earlier. I
Yeah,
didn't get around
that
to
was
it.
discussed and she wasn't interested in it.
She wasn't, okay, that's what I wanted to know, all right. So with that, I'll approve item E.
Second.
I recommend we approve item E. Second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none heard.
Congratulations, Emily.
Yep.
Maybe.
Okay, I pulled item G, which is the Anoka County
I
Sheriff's.
pulled F.
You pulled F, okay.
The only question I've got, when we go to fill a spot, first of all, who came up with the grades? Grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on, up to 12, I believe? Who came up with that grading scale? And how is it determined when somebody, now we're advertising for a person to come in and take the job, and she's gonna start at grade 5, I believe. 4? How is that determined? I mean, is there some kind of a formula
Well-
that's used, or?
As best we can determine, came about sometime in 2004. And it probably came about, from my speculation, in relation to another item we're gonna discuss later on, is the pay equity report. So jobs were set up in terms of what their responsibilities were. They're assigned a number of points and a grade. And it's just a way to evaluate those things essentially for pay equity. And also just establish a guide so you can show what different positions pay at different steps.
Okay. All right. Now with that, I'll make a motion to approve F.
Motion made.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. On the item G, the Anoka County Sheriff's Office contract, I move that we table it until our next meeting because I've asked Derek for that information and I need to see that before we move that.
Second that.
That's seconded, so item G, made and seconded that we table it until our next meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. H,
I pulled that one. I would just like to thank you very much, and probably Bob would as well, to Mr. Jordan Hill and Mr. Mitch, is it Bulky? Bulk? Okay, I probably butchered that last name, I apologize, but I absolutely appreciate both these individuals. First of all, applying to the fire department and successfully sticking with it and completing their probation to become paid on-call firefighters. And I would invite any resident out there that has an interest in being involved with the community in such a way to get a hold of the fire department or come to the fire department open house on October 9th, 5 to 7 in Station 1. And Bob?
Well, that pretty much says it. Took care of that. Welcome
All right.
aboard.
I'll make a motion to approve item H.
Second.
motion made and seconded to approve item H of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. I pulled item I, if I didn't mention it earlier. I think I did, maybe I didn't. But I pulled item I, that's the Anoka County recycling contract. Eric, did you review this at all? The Anoka County recycling contract?
I'm looking at this.
One of the strange things about it to me is that it's under the Human Resource, or Human Services Division. Why would a recycling contract be under?
I wish I could
That's a
answer that
mystery to me.
question.
Yeah, that's a mystery to me.
So I don't recall reviewing this. That's not unusual. A lot of times, I will not review a contract until it's been approved, and then it's approved subject to review and approval as to form by the attorney. And And then, once that's done, I would sign it, at which point, you know, and Jack knows that it's ready for signature by the city.
Okay. I have wrote down a question here. Who was the representative, quote, representative of the municipality staff, unquote, who was involved in the development of the Master Plan 2018?
That would have been the recycling coordinator at that time, which I believe would have been Karen White.
Karen White. And my second question was an estimate of the staff time it took for compliance, from applying to complying, all this stuff, and that's in the numbers. I saw that, at least an estimate of what the staff time is. And what I'm wondering is what the net benefit to the city is, or is it just break even, or does it cost us?
No, it doesn't cost us anything. It's what we use to run our recycling program, to keep our recycling facility open.
So you think it's net cost zero,
And
basically?
net cost zero. We don't
Okay.
use any city funds for this. It's all comes from the grant. What we use to make incremental improvements to the building and the facility down there, and to contract with the lines to actually do most of the labor to run a lot of that stuff in terms of the daily functions and also that drop-off Saturday we have every month. And as far as the net benefit, if you go down there on Saturdays and look at the crowds, you'll see that it's heavily used.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the Anoka County sets tonnage requirements for each city. Prior to, I believe, 2018, we'd come close, but we'd never met our goals. So when we started implementing this drop-off Saturday, we've met our tonnage goals every year since 2018.
Okay.
And this contract, unless anybody had any questions, is the same one that's been used since Adam and Eve.
That long? Now, you have that documented, Jack,
Yeah,
or you just
Pretty
assuming
close.
so?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Is that a CUP?
I don't know, I've read Genesis. I didn't see a word about it in there.
This is a huge contract. This is long.
That, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it was 62 pages of
Yeah.
contract and supporting materials
Yeah.
dumped on us. So I was a little taken aback by that, and it was written like you were doing a major real estate deal or something. I couldn't believe there's so much detail and legalese about a recycling contract. I'm a little perturbed, or not perturbed, but perplexed about why you would look at it after we approved it. Wouldn't we want your opinion before we approved it?
Well, I
Or
leave that up to.
is this all a moot point and I'm making a mountain out of a molehill? Is that
No,
what
I think
I've been known to do
that's,
that
that's
time to
more of
time.
a question for your city administrator, but I know that, at least in my, 6 months of experience here and my overall experience is that, administrators and project managers will evaluate, and if it is, something that's been a usual contract and so forth, then, they'll wait until there's approval if it's new or there's something, unique that, would merit my review beforehand, because there might be some legal issues that come up and so forth, and the city administrator will utilize it and seek my opinion and review beforehand. And it's just really trying to manage legal services in the most efficient way possible for, that particular municipality. I assume that's what the city administrator is doing here.
Yeah. What do you want to do, guys? Anybody got an opinion? Want to make a motion?
Make motion to approve item I.
The only question I got on it is it said that the applications were due by June of 2023 for 2024. We're a little past that, aren't we?
No, the applications were already submitted. It takes them a while to get the contract out once this is done.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we have a motion made.
I do have a question on this.
Oh,
Since you brought it up, it's a lengthy contract and you say we've been using it forever. This is the first time I'm seeing it and reading through it. It was confusing at points and so forth. When we get something like this, can we get some sort of not a cheat sheet, but a synopsis of what the meat and potatoes are of this? Because going through it and sitting down and reading 62 plus pages of of a contract for recycling, it gets confusing at times. You know, and to vote on it right away after, you know, having only seen it for a few days for the first time, granted, you guys know what it is, but it helps if we have a little bit more info or some sort of, like a cheat sheet that says, hey, this is
Well,
what
just
this
a
is.
presentation by someone with the county who works in this
Yeah.
every day,
Mhm.
you know, that would be helpful.
That would be
I
my
get, I get your
comment.
point, yeah. That was a little daunting, pretty dense material. We have a motion made and seconded to approve item I, which is the 2024 Anoka County recycling contract. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None heard. And that completes our consent agenda. Any new business? Item A8, I should say. Supposed to hear from Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Kevin. Pay Equity Report Update. The Local Government Pay Equity Act, Minnesota State Statute 471.991, and Minnesota Rules, Chapter 3920, requires local jurisdictions to submit a pay equity report to the state of Minnesota every 3 years. The Minnesota Department of Management has provided the city notification that our next report is due January 31st, 2024, and that additional information will be provided in November of this year in order to file. A pay equity report is a document that provides an analysis of the compensation structure within an organization to ensure that employees are being paid fairly and equitably for their work, regardless of gender, race, or other protected characteristics. Pay equity reports are required to demonstrate a commitment to fair and non-discriminatory pay practices and to comply with legal requirements related to equal pay for equal work. The appropriate data on employee pay, which is based on salary information in place for 2023 and approved by the City Council during the 2023 budget cycle, will be entered into the report software provided by the state once available. Also entered into the software is each position classification along with the gender that holds each position. Once the entry is completed, a report will be generated that will be provided to council for consideration for approval at a future council meeting. The city will not be notified until the spring of 2024 as to our attempts to meet compliance with this requirement. There's no action required on this. This is just an update of what's upcoming, and we'll get this submitted probably as soon as we get the information in November.
Okay. Next item is the item 8G2, the reserve capacity loan report.
I'm sure this.
I know you've looked forward to this.
This is what everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, this is the highlight right here.
The City of East Bethel entered into a wastewater service rates and sewer service charges agreement with the Metropolitan Council in 2010. This agreement established an annual quota requirement and set a contract schedule for the sewer availability connections, known as SAC charges, and this quota increases at 17% a year to amortize the cost of the Met Council wastewater treatment plant and effluent disposal system that serves the City of East Bethel. The agreement created a reserve capacity loan that accumulates the unmet goals of the annual SAC quota over the 20-year term of the agreement. In 2013 and 2015, the city and the Met Council executed amendments to the original agreement. The 2013 amendment allowed for a modification of SAC charges if the city could work out an agreement to connect Village Green to the city sewer system. The 2015 amendment placed a not-to-exceed cap of $2 million on the reserve capacity loan. This amendment limits the city's liability to maximum exposure for the loan repayment to the $2 million amount. Prior to this amendment, the city could have faced a worst-case scenario of up to a $19 million debt obligation to Met Council in 2032. The City of East Bethel did not meet SAC quotas for fiscal years 2012 through 2018 and 2020 through 2022. Only in 2019 were equivalent connections made to the system which exceeded the SAC contract requirement for that year. The SAC contract requirement for 2023 is 2,208, As of September 19th of this year, the city has secured 17 SAC units. The city is anticipating reaching the $2 million cap at the year end, which would initiate the payment of this loan starting in 2024. The reverse reserve capacity loan balance is projected to increase to $2,130,000 at the end of September or December 31st, 2003, assuming no other SAC connections are secured through the remainder of the year. There is a loan amortization agreement in place with Met Council Environmental Services that allows the city to select a term between 10 and 20 years for a payback period at a fixed interest rate of 2.73% to satisfy the debt. City staff has provided an amortization schedule that will pay off the loan in 10 years and propose an annual payment of $231,241.76, which includes both principal and interest. The city has earmarked the sewer fund as the source of money to pay this loan, and that payment was included in the approved 2024 preliminary budget. This schedule has also been approved by the Met Council Environmental Services. Going forward through the 10-year amortization period, the development of the Elevage and Capstone projects will generate $1,433,250 in residential connection charges, which will cover this payment over the next 6 years, assuming 75 unit charges are received per year. The proposed Osborne project could generate an additional $875,875 in residential charges, which could pay the balance of the debt between years 7 through 10. This scenario would utilize SAC revenue stream from these developments to pay back the loan, leaving the current balance of the city sewer fund untouched and available for system maintenance, operation, and improvement costs. Staff requests council to approve the loan repayment schedule as exhibited in attachment 8.0 G2, number 3, in the packet at the September 25th, 2023 council meeting. I have some charts here. If anybody has any questions, we can go over to show how these tables come up with their calculations.
Could you tell me on attachment number 2, what is 2023? It looks like Floy charges. What is that? What is that word?
Flow charges.
Flow charges. I wonder, what's a Floy? I couldn't figure that out. I have a lot of questions. You guys want to go first? I can. There's a rule of thumb in finance. Never pay off the cheapest loan first. That's kind of a rule of thumb. You know, you start with the most expensive, work your way down. But at 2.73% interest, the money you save, you could be earning 5.3% right now, buying CDs with it, and come out, and just the interest would almost pay for the next loan. Anyway, or the next payment. But so my first question is why is a 10-year amortization proposed if it's flexible?
It is flexible.
And is it fixed? You make your decision at the beginning, and either it's a 10-year or anywhere in the spectrum from 10 to 20, or is it either 10 or 20 and it's fixed after that?
It's somewhere between 10 and 20 if we want to go back.
So it could be 12
It
if
could
we
be
want.
12 or 15 or 20.
But once you make your decision, that's it.
That's it. We could go back and change it though. That's, even though this is.
So see, if you amortize it on 20 years, then you can always prepay. You just make an extra payment. If you have a flush year, you just make an extra payment against principal. So that's the way a finance person would do it normally, I would think. But anyway, that was my first question. You mentioned I had another question. Why, if it's capped at $2 million, why is it going to be at $2,130,000?
The $2,130,000 is what this figure right here. So this means that we go over the cap. So once we go over the cap, then we have to pay the loan back.
But we only have to pay the $2 million.
Correct.
We don't have to pay $2,130,000.
That's correct.
Okay. When you mentioned the Osborne project, which we know is that 9-acre parcel, and we talked about extending water sewer. But when you mentioned the commercial development, when you say the fees generated were from residential hookups, so does the Osborne project include that 53 adjacent acres?
It includes the residential component that
That's
they're
53
talking-
adjacent
correct,
acres, right?
Yes.
And that's zoned what?
That
Mixed
i-
use?
That's zoned R2, R1.
So what's the density of that?
That's 4 to 6 units per acre, I believe, isn't it?
In the R2, correct. R1 is,
So that's 4 to 6 units per acre.
yes.
And there are 53 acres, so that'd be another 250,
Yeah, actually, there's about
300.
Actually, there's about 80 acres in there with the whole site.
But only
Oh, you're
53 are
talking about going
developable?
down.
Yeah, well, there's some question as to some of them on the northern portion that would have to be done by wetland delineations.
No?
But that
Okay.
would, that's assuming, I believe, we're looking at, I think they'd originally talked about having 300 and some units. I think we just projected that at 275.
'Cause I thought Walt had 80 acres,
Yeah,
40, and then when he had clear cut back in, I think, 2012, was another,
Walt.
yeah, Walt Osborne. He's the one that used to own it.
Oh. Who's the guy I met? Doug?
yeah, Walt.
Doug's the kids.
Doug's his son. Walt passed away about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a blend of R2 and mixed use and commercial.
So it's highly dense, very dense,
Can be.
yeah.
In
Well,
fact, he's got
likely will
property
be.
to
I
the
mean, let's
east of
see.
that.
Huh?
He's got property to the east of that, doesn't he?
He owns up to where Paul Johnson's brother owns. He goes up
Is it
Briarwood.
Paul Johnson's dad or his brother?
His brother, his dad
Okay.
owns the property that's further to the north of
Alright.
that.
Okay, I've got
See where-
another.
See where he was pointing there?
Huh?
See where he was looking
Yeah,
at?
yeah, I saw it. That's part of that, yeah, mixed use. So, one other question, just to clarify. It's my understanding that the wastewater treatment plant is the property of the Met Council, Met
Correct.
Council Environmental Services.
Correct.
If that's the case, then whatever money we're saving or what have you, why would we be spending it toward maintenance, operation, and improvement costs? If they own it, why aren't they paying to do it?
We're not, that fund would be for our own portion of the system that we own, like the collection
It
system.
wouldn't be for the plant, it would
That's
be for
correct.
the
It's not-
system,
That's
the
correct.
delivery system.
That's correct, or for further improvements or
Okay.
extensions in our system.
All right. All right, well, that answers my questions. My hangup is real simple. It's about the amortization schedule. And it would be, if I have druthers in any situation like this, my druthers is to spread out the amortization schedule and prepay on the principal. That's just, to me, the smart way to do it, but
We-
I'm open to everybody else's opinion.
Why don't you let us run some other scenarios on this, and we can.
Yeah, you don't need to run 12, 13, 14,
No.
15. Just,
We-
just try 10 and 20, that's enough.
We'll kind of do.
Well, 10, 15, and 20.
Yeah, those three would be a good,
Yeah.
good average,
Yeah.
and see what it comes out as and what the total savings would be.
Yeah, but that way you're not hidebound. See, once you're committed,
Yeah.
you're committed, so, you know. And their bankers aren't really known, even if they're government agencies, they're not known for wanting to change amortization schedules once they're set, you know. So what would it be, table it for now?
We just table it and bring it up to next meeting.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to table
Second.
this this topic for now. The matter of the reserve capacity loan, disposition thereof. Anybody want to second it?
I did.
Huh?
I did.
Oh, you did. I'm too busy talking, I guess. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Item 8G3, Sunrise River Water Management Organization. I was very happy to hear this, what you're about to tell everybody, that there
Thank-
seems to be a resolution, that's good.
Yeah, there does seem to be a breakthrough on this. It's a matter that's been, actually, it's been discussed probably for the last 5 to 7 years in various forms, shapes, and different presentations. But the 4 members of the Sunrise River WMO have been dealing with an issue over the funding formula for the organization since 2018. The city of Ham Lake has contested the equal split of the operating cost of the WMO and have proposed that these expenses be proportionally allocated based on land area of each member's acreage within the boundaries of the WMO. The other 3 members have held the position that these are fixed costs and their expense should be the same for each member. There have been 6 meetings to discuss this concern over the past year. The funding formula recommendation was supported by members from Columbus, East Bethel, and Linwood at the September 14th, 2023 Sunrise River WMO meeting. The city of Ham Lake had no elected representatives at the meeting, but a follow-up call by Janet Hegland, City of Columbus councilperson and chairperson of the Sunrise River WMO, was conducted on September 15th with Ham Lake Mayor Brian Kirkham. Ms. Hegland reported the call was productive and there may be a compromise solution to this matter. The proposed compromise would be to adopt scenario 1, which is a table shown in your packet, and dispose of the old formula, which is based on market value and land area for each city and township. In reviewing the percent contribution derived from scenario 1 and previously recommended in scenario 4, the difference between the 2 formulas only varied by about 1 to 3%, depending on the municipality. Since discussions have considered so many options, the current Sunrise River WMO formula percentages in the table in your packet are presented as a consideration that seem to have the support of all parties. If there were significant boundary shifts in the future that substantially would be reduced or increase the area of a community, the Sunrise River WMO can reopen the discussion of adjusting the formula. To summarize, the major issues and proposed solutions over the last year have been presented and will be presented in the revised JPA. The issues are communication concerns. When a community does not have a city council town board member on the WMO, that's going to be amended that each one will be required to have an elected official on the board. There would be unanimous ratifications of budgets. And if a budget is ratified by only 3 of the 4 communities, it cannot increase by more than 10% from the annual amount in the approved watershed plan for that year. There was also the timeline of budget ratifications. The proposed solution was that responses to proposed budgets are required within 60 days. If concerns are voiced that prompt the WMO board to change the budget, communities have an additional 30 days to respond to the revised budget. And the funding formula, which is the real bone of contention for most of the discussion, was we'd use the most recent percentages from the 30-year-old funding formula and dispose of the formula itself. And the operating cost would be split equally among the members. So we haven't heard anything back yet from Ham Lake, but Ms. Hegland did report that she had a productive discussion with Mr. Kirkham, and this appears to be the solution that we're headed for. And City Council is requested to endorse the compromise proposal for the Sunrise River Water Management Organization as to the funding formula, membership requirements, and budget ratification amendments to the JPA, and submit a notice of support for these items to the Sunrise River WMO Board. This just means that we're supporting this compromise proposal, and if all agree to it, then it'll be brought back for formal approval by council.
Make a motion to endorse these items and to submit a notice of support for them to the Sunrise River WMO Board.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to endorse this compromise proposal for the Sunrise River Water Management Organization. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None heard. Good, I'm glad to hear that development. Staff report?
I only have one thing. We do have a work meeting scheduled for October the 2nd. I have nothing to put on the agenda, so I'm recommending we cancel the meeting unless city council has issues they would like to discuss.
Anybody itching to get together on October 2nd and see our smiling?
It's a toughie.
It's a toughie, huh?
Well, one item that we should be bringing up or to possibly discuss at the work meeting or at the next meeting is the prepare an advertisement for a new city administrator. We need to get working on that.
Well, we'll visit that subject at our next city council meeting. How about that?
Next city council meeting, that'd be fine. I would suggest that we direct staff to prepare an advertisement for that, so we have something in front of us at our next meeting for it then, that we can discuss. If there's no objections to that.
Well, I am working on something, and I'll be prepared to talk more about it at our next council meeting. Put it that way. Anything else? Council reports?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm kinda curious, where are we at with the CUP and the trailer park?
Oh. Cedarwood, right?
Cedarwood, is that it? I don't know, I'm getting a look over here.
I'm more than happy to give an update if you want me to, Jack.
Go ahead, you spent more time addressing
Yeah,
it than I have.
certainly. So our conversations, discussions, historical research, and then application of current ordinance still identifies the trailer parks or manufactured home parks as legal nonconformities. Our ordinance does not permit the expansion of legal nonconformities. Under these circumstances, our city code only permits manufactured homes to be allowed in the B3 commercial district of the city and not in the R2 residential district of the city. Therefore, allowing an expansion is in violation of the city ordinance. However, there may be avenues or legal ways to allow that expansion to happen. However, our ordinance does require that trailer parks, manufactured homes have conditional use permits. We are not able to locate a conditional use permit with any language of any kind for either of our manufactured home parks in any of the city records, dating back to 1953.
Well, I guess I'm kinda curious, at some point, the city or village or whatever of East Bethel, when they put that in, must have had something in mind. And I guess I've been down through there and I'm kinda wondering if they're within, if the parcel or the piece of ground that they're looking to do is right where their playground is right now, and they wanna put trailers into that, who's to say that when the thing was first put together that wasn't their intention anyway? And it kinda troubles me if there's no CUP, because I gotta believe the city had to have something in hand to let them put the existing park in there. And then you add in the mix that in 2012, I believe, I found the minutes from the meetings of where, I think Jack referred to a long time ago, where we were supposed to be working out some kind of a deal with them to hook up as Village Green. And I've been online and I can't find the rest of the minutes, so I'm not sure where they're at or if it's something that's in the archives somewhere, but I need the other part of the minutes.
As to the agreement with Met Council to hook Village Green up,
Yes,
there was never anything resolved in that. The only thing that came out of that meeting was, there were two things. Number one, the trailer park would be required to hook up and pay SAC charges for each individual trailer lot, which would have cost them over $1 million. Or there was a proposal that if what was in Village Green would give us the property of and the facility of the wastewater treatment plant, donate that to the city, then that would be a city facility, and then we could hook it up because it would only be one SAC charge that way, because it was a public facility serving an existing area. The city did not really want to accept that because, for a couple of reasons. Number one, we would have to have it for at least 30 days. We were concerned about
Right.
what might happen within the 30 days, but a bigger issue was we did not want the responsibility of their collection system. That system, even at that time, was over 45, close to 50 years old, so probably it's got a lot of infiltration issues, which is taking in a lot of
Could be.
groundwater, which is gonna mean higher treatment cost. But even worse is that if it exceeds a certain level, the Met Council can come in and make you repair or replace that system to correct that problem.
Or the EPA could.
Yeah, either one, but generally it's the Met Council, because if your flows are getting too high, and especially if they're endangering the capacity of the treatment plant or reducing its life by excessive flows, that's their reasoning for that, but they do have that authority.
Okay, because part of when we were discussing tonight on the wastewater plant, in our minutes here, or the notes, it said that in 2013 and 2015 that there were amendments made. Well, the one amendment was made in 2012, and there were 3 people at that meeting. There was myself, Heidi, and Steve Voss. And I tried to get that vote held back that night, because I said, we've got 2 more people coming in, and I'd rather not stick them with the same thing we got stuck with. And the response was, well, can't you make up your mind? You've seen this 3 times. So that vote was done with 3 votes. There wasn't a full council. But my point is, part of that amendment dealt with, in fact, it was in these notes, dealt with Village Green, but this one didn't really go into much detail, enough detail for me to find it. So I'm gonna have to, I guess, find, or you could find. I've still got the minutes sitting on my dining room table, because the thing keeps coming up and haunting me.
So what I can say, however, though, the Met Council, the sewer connection system is a completely separate issue of the illegal or the legal nonconformity of the zoning code of the trailer park or the manufactured home.
Yeah.
Those are 2 completely separate legal issues.
And I understand that, but that's where my question is, where's the paperwork when that thing was originally put together? Because who's to say that when they first put in those bunch of trailers they have, that it wasn't their intention down the road to fill the whole thing up, and they just hadn't done it yet? Well, if that was the case, then why would that be an expansion? And so where's the original designs of what they had in mind? Now, the city should have something on record, I would think.
So I'd be more than happy to send you the 300-page historical document that I put together that I shared with our attorney. And if you would like to pull any of those items out of there, we can explore each one of those in terms of the content. I've pulled all of the meeting minutes from both the Planning Commission on that topic and the City Council on that topic based on the date in this timeline document.
So what did you find was the original document where it laid that out, that this is gonna be a trailer park? Did you find that document?
Well, I can tell you that over time, the state has permitted the use of trailers for different periods of time until it actually became an acceptable location to have a portion of a community. So at one point, they were only allowed for 6 months, and then they had to be moved by permit. And then as the ownership of Village Green continued to expand their manufactured home park, they acquired some more land. However, nothing has been platted. Nothing has been defined as this is the next street. This is the next avenue. So if we would approve a preliminary plat for a subdivision now, and the builder decides to not build it,
Right.
and then 20 years later, a new builder picks up and purchases the property, they can assume that preliminary plat and build what was approved to a previous builder. There's no preliminary plat or anything for Village Green or what it was called before that or what it was called prior to that. It actually has had 3 different names under multiple different owners. Village Green was the longest tenant, but it started out as Kemper Trailer Park,
Right.
actually back in the late 50s. It was originally, that was a 6-month only occupancy. Then they had to be removed and then brought back every 6 months. I'm assuming it was a seasonal basis because of winter in the upper Midwest.
So was it considered a recreational park at the time?
I don't know what the state actually called it at that time. They were required, someone, Mr. Kemper, I believe, purchased, I could be wrong on which one it was, a special use permit to allow for more than one trailer home at the time to be placed on a parcel of property. He was given permission to do that. As the state statute continued to expand, so did the permissions from the city to continue to enlarge the size of what he currently owned. And by that time, it had been taken over by a development company and then was eventually sold off to the ownerships of Village Green. So there's a lot of history there, but what we're really missing is a conditional use permit, which is what our current code requires. That came into effect in about 1987, and it didn't happen here.
Right, but that's, again, that's what troubles me. Where is that documentation? At some point, they had to have come to the city and said, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to, instead of putting trailers here 6 months and moving them back and forth, we want to do this on a more permanent basis. So how do you do that? Well, who the heck knows where the records are? I mean, was that back when they were chipping stuff out of stone, or?
My assumption,
You know what I
which
mean?
isn't safe, were some handshake agreements and allowables that maybe there was no code for at the time. And as code continued to be evolved, these things existed. And now they're nonconformities. They're allowed to be there. Legal or illegal, no one chose to do any enforcement on the issue, so there's still a nonconformity.
Well, so what would have happened with, again, I'll go home and do some more reading. But that was part of the amendment that we made with Met Council, was that Village Green was gonna hook up.
Again, Mr. DeRoche, that's a separate item from zoning. I can't speak to I didn't check into the
Right,
sewer
but
system
I'm
at all.
trying to say, so if they were to hook up or somehow get them to do that, then they're still non-conforming, or?
Yes, because our zoning code says that they're not allowed to be there, but they were there before our zoning code changed. Therefore, they can continue to be there, but they can't be expanded.
So their only option is to chuck the idea or come in and try and get a variance or,
Yeah,
Conditional
and the
use permit.
conversations that I've had with the city attorney is there are potential legal avenues that they would have to apply to the city to explore moving on to the next step.
well, how much effort is being put into that? I mean, is it something we're pursuing with them, or how long do we go and just finally say, you know what?
Well,
we're not
we
gonna
can't
do this?
encourage and we can't discourage an applicant from applying for something.
No, but you can keep them updated on what they need.
We've met with Mr. McCrae, the Continental Communities, I don't know what his official title is, vice president or something, numerous phone calls, numerous
Alright.
phone conferences with City Administrator Davis and myself about where we are at with this process.
All right, well, I'm asking the questions because we had discussed this at a council meeting and then it went away. And,
Well, when we ran into this zoning roadblock, now it's the onus of the applicant to ask us to move to the next level.
all right. Have we sent them a registered letter or something?
Now, our last conversation, most of our conversations have been via telephone. We had a
Okay.
conversation with Mr. McCrae approximately 2 weeks ago.
And his question was, can you continue to research and find a conditional use permit for us?
Have you exhausted that
I've
possibility?
been through every city council
Have you
minute.
communicated that to him?
Yes, we have. We've let him know. I spent over 14 hours going through minutes of council meetings looking for any mention of trailer park, manufactured
Would you
home,
like to
Village
do that
Green.
again, Aaron?
I do not want to do that again. And like I said, I did prepare a over 300-page document of
Yeah.
all of these things timelined out. In case we got to the point where we needed to really make a legal decision, we have.
No, they're in a legal twilight zone, basically. No.
So is Castle Towers the same scenario?
They do not have a CUP either. And they're also
Great.
zoned the same way, and they're also a manufactured park. So they are in the same scenario, 7 miles north of here.
Right. Which is why we ran that force main. That's why we ran the force main up there.
That could be.
because- well, it is.
Again, I
because
didn't explore the sewer
That tank was over
ramifications. I
50 years old, the
stuck to
thing was
zoning.
leaking. Like Jack and I went up there and looked at it, and they had it held together with fiberglass and rags, and,
It was held together with bubble gum and baling wire.
yeah, that was a piece of work. All right, well, that's.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, I think.
I'd
So-
like to talk about a few things yet.
Oh,
You skipped
Cut
right
'em
over
off,
me
man.
from.
you gotta be assertive, Tim.
I wasn't quick enough on this one. I'd like to put some recognition out there to our Parks Commission Board for having a meeting with the residents on Coon Lake Beach. The place was packed. The residents gave our committee a ton of great ideas that are gonna be put to use, all for equipment and so forth on how to run and put the park and bring it up to snuff, since there's some money to be spent there, along with some grants that they can probably use to increase what they're doing there. But I want to thank the residents for showing up. It was a great turnout, a lot of great ideas, nothing negative, and it was very well done. So to Bill and Nate, they did a great job, and for the residents showing up, that's exactly what was needed, to hear from them, to find out what they wanted in their own park. It's their money. It's their kids playing there, and it just was a well event. Second, I got to attend something this weekend. It was a groundbreaking and trail dedication at the Cedar Creek Ecosystem Science Reserve. I gotta tell you, I was blown away with what I saw. They have 5,600 acres, and to put it into terms of the size of a city, we're 48 square miles, they're 8.7 miles. That's how big that place is. It's like a sixth of this city. It's also a designated U.S. national landmark that was done in '75. They call it an excellent example of the nation's natural history. It's described as relatively undisturbed area. It has 3 different biomes that meet together. They have 61 species of mammals and 259 species of birds in that facility alone. It's run by the University of Minnesota. It's visited by scientists and college students from all over the world. The facility started hosting K through 12 students a number of years back. That number has grown each year. Right now, they're seeing a lot of inner city kids. They had 9,000 students there last year. One of the dedications out there for groundbreaking was to add on to their educational program and educational buildings out there. They plan on doubling this number in the next couple of years. That's a lot of students that are going to be out there at that facility. Living in East Bethel, and I'm assuming that most of the residents have either heard or driven by this facility, seen the signs. I personally did not know what was going on there. I just saw the signs and saw the fences, and okay, the university is out here doing some stuff. They are doing more than stuff out there. They've got 900 plots of different experiments that are considered long-term, that are shaping basically what's going on in this planet's future, and looking at all the things that are involving nature, and it's going there and walking their trails is like seeing like the land of the lost. It's like time that was preserved and untouched. It is absolutely amazing. They actually call it the birthplace of modern science. I'm personally gonna learn a lot more about this facility, and I have talked with Kevin a little bit about it, the mayor. And, I think there's an opportunity for this city to either do more or learn more. They have so many public trails out there and public geared, activities that I felt actually kind of dumb when I left there, but I will tell you, I was motivated after I left there, simply for the fact that we have a gem, and I always thought this city was a gem to begin with. We've got something that is absolutely beyond what you could consider as a national landmark right in our own backyards. And if you want to see what East Bethel looked like before we started developing it, walk a trail. You will see some of the most unbelievable things, from the pine trees and the prairies and the valleys and the hardwood woods out there that are just amazing. I encourage everyone to do it. I really do. And if there's anything we can do to help, I wish the city, and I hope the city, and we'll see what we can do to basically promote it more, because people come from all over the world to study. I met artists out there. I met painters. I met writers. I met the dean. I met students from a different country who are out there doing their thesis work and stuff like that. And it's pretty amazing that we have that right here in this city. And that's basically what I got to report on that one. But we had a great time out there.
Well, to add with we've got the Allison Savannah, we've got the Sandhill Crane. What else we got around here, Jack?
Gordy Mickelson Wildlife Reserve,
We have Buffalo, or had Buffalo.
except for this year.
You've been around, Brian. What else we got up here?
That's, well, Colorado Avery, I don't know if any of East Bethel's in it, but it's right
Oh,
next to
yeah,
it.
yeah, we got a lot of that.
But with that, and with trying to promote it, a number of years ago, the city council actually did have a city council meeting
Yeah, I
in,
remember that.
in their big facility right there as part of the Booster Club activities, because it fell right in line that week. We felt it was a great idea to try to promote that and show everybody, look, this is what's here, right here.
We should do that again.
That was the old water park days.
We've had a good partnership and relationship with Cedar Creek Ecosystem and Science Reserve. The walking trail around Fish Lake from the trailhead there at the end of Durant Street is a joint project with the city and the university. The city actually did a land swap for 2 or 3 acres, and the northern portion of East Bethel Boulevard was closed because the desire was to eliminate vehicle traffic there back to 229th back in the early 2000s. We've worked with them on several things and assisted them, and they've assisted us. So whatever's out there to promote, we have a good relationship with them, so.
Perfect. 'Cause it's-
Well, in
it's an
2012, Jack and I were involved in that. They wanted to clear cut the Sandhill Crane area. DNR, DNR kind of came in here one night, and he was getting ready to retire in June, and he said, well, so we're just, rather than pick through things, we're just gonna clear cut. And Jack and I lobbied a lot of people. Tom Hackbarth was representative then. A couple of people passed away, and then the idea kind of went out. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. People just have to get involved.
Yeah,
I'm
been
planning
there
on going
12
up there
years.
this very week, because Tim got me all worked up about visiting it. I've been by it 100 times easily on my motorcycle, but I didn't realize what all was in there, and so he's got me all, my eyes have been opened, and now I'm heading up there this week when the weather gets better.
Yeah, ask them
Thank you for that.
ask them for a personal tour, and they'll take you down Cedar Bog Trail.
Yeah.
That is a great little hike. That
Yeah. I'll-
growing up in East Bethel in this area, this environment is what I considered normal, and it wasn't until I walked down and had an educational tour that I realized just how unique
Yeah.
this area right around here is.
It's a very
It's-
diverse environment,
Mm-hmm.
very
Yep.
diverse. I want to acknowledge Mr. Miller here too, because to tag along, as a Coon Lake beacher, I was proud to see how many people turned out for the Parks Commission meeting down there. And they did have a lot of great ideas. Bob's a Coon Lake beacher too. So I was proud of that. But Tim, on his own initiative and on his own time, found out that there's a grant source from the state to supplement what we're putting out as a city for playground equipment and playground development down in that Coon Lake Beach area, that will leverage those dollars into a lot more equipment and all that. And I want to acknowledge him for that, because that was a great find. Because, not just because it's in my backyard, I don't play on playgrounds too much anymore. My kids are in almost 40, so I don't think I'll see them out there. But for the sake of the young kids and all that, they'll have some pretty nice developments out there. It's overdue too. It's been a long time. So with that, I'll finally entertain
Make a motion to adjourn.
okay.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none heard.
Exactly 9 o'clock.
You know,
We're working it back.
It hasn't been done yet, so you won't give that to